Shit internet apologists say.
All right, y'all. We're going to go to Tennessee. And I know y'all want to go to Tennessee. And we're going to talk about Mr. Gregory Locke. Oh, Gregory. This living embodiment of a human hemorrhoid. Of an inflamed, angry hemorrhoid. So, for those in the audience that have no idea who I'm talking about, I'm going to burst your bubble because you were living in this really nice bliss, and I am here to just break that from you. So, Pastor Greg Locke is a MAGA and hate preacher, allegedly a hate preacher, from Mont Joliet, Tennessee, and he is a man of God that has accused people in his congregation of being witches, burned Harry Potter books because reasons, I suppose, denied COVID was real, preached to his followers not to wear masks, thinks LGBTQ plus people are possessed by demons. And I could go on, but I feel my blood starting to boil. So I'm going to just say the BS that he's involved in now. So apparently, Mr. Greg Locke cannot keep his religious rhetoric to himself. Oh, no. So, because of him and the county that he lives in, he has been getting noise complaints because of the music, and his shouting can be heard up to 5 miles away. And the county commissioner, Bobby Franklin, has heard 22 noise complaints from this mofo. And because there is no noise ordinance law in the county, there's not much he can do except ask Mr. Locke, as a respectable pastor, to turn it down a little. But is he? Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Because he has people coming from all the way from California, and they need to hear the word of the Lord. And how are you going to do that if you want to make it below decibels that jet planes go by? Like, how are you going to do that? So he is using his religious persecution complex to say that the county is repressing his free speech and they just don't want to hear about the Lord.
Yeah.
So I have been to live a hop, skip, and jump from a music venue. Yes, when they have events there, you can hear it, but it doesn't keep me up at night when I go to bed. I can drown out watching some Wednesday on Netflix, which is a great show. You should watch it. But this mofo is so loud, it's rattling windows. So I happen to wonder, Mr. Locke, if you can kind of tone it down a little so your people in your county can just enjoy a quiet Sunday afternoon. Just be respectful. SR.
Yeah.
As our resident Tennessee person, please tell us about Mr. Locke and the wonder of living in a county where he is.
Yeah, for sure. So for any of the longtime viewers may know, we've touched on old Greggy Poo a good handful of times because boy does he always like to say some shit on the internet. But yeah, I actually grew up fairly close to this church. I know exactly where it is. For sure. By when I was writing my notes for this, preparing for the episode, I actually wrote like, hey, funny enough, like coincidentally, I just drove by his church like the last 3 days in a row because it's just literally like in my area, and I just have to sometimes. You pointed out that the chief deputy of the county mentioned that there were 22 complaints from the church. I want to point out that the next largest attraction of noise complaints, just in case anybody's wondering, was a fucking cannon being fired. Was a cannon being fired at the other end of the county. So, just compare those. And I think it was like 4, by the way. It was like 4 complaints of the cannon, 22 about the church. So there you go. Where his church sits, it is right on the edge. And because of that, it does sit in this space that is county space. For some of our viewers that have never lived in an area like that, it has a little bit different jurisdiction, and there are different laws and stuff. And so even though it may be bothering people, if there actually isn't technically a noise ordinance in place, there actually isn't anything that can be done, because they do have the right to hold services on their property. I will say, though, all of that being said, the legislature in Tennessee is really, really, let's say, biased. No, that's a bad word. Focused on giving preferential treatment to places of worship. I'm sorry. Giving preferential treatment to Christian places of worship. I'm sorry. Hang on. Giving preferential treatment to white Christian upper middle to upper class taxing bracket. So yeah, I'm not exactly going to be holding my breath that there's going to be anything in the county necessarily that's going to come through anytime soon. We will see, but based on the history of this area, for sure, I can tell y'all it's unlikely that there will be any reprieve from this, and people in the area will be able to hear Greg Locke yelling about yoga pants and crystals 3 times a week. So, Richard, what do you think on all this?
Yeah, just to take on from your white middle class Christians, I do wonder how differently a mosque blasting out an adhan at 100 decibels 5 times a day would be taken, or say the Church of Satan, and this is not a suggestion, were to turn up and play "Bleed" by Meshuggah, just blasts of it at about the same volume. And speaking of bleed, I actually feel sorry for his attendants, his parishioners, because they're a few feet away from that. I mean, if he wants to create a deaf congregation, he's going about it the right way. They must be. I wonder if they walk out and go, "The ringing in my ears, it's the Lord, it's the Lord." Like, no, it's called tinnitus. It's odd, and I think I've got a low key version of this. There's a church near me, and it's got a bell that goes every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes they ring this bell. This church has been there for 700 years. The bell's been ringing for 500 of them. And if you say to them, "Could I maybe, I don't know, get some goddamn sleep once in a while?" They'll go, "Oh, you're attacking our church, you're attacking our belief system." And I'm like, okay, so show me in the Bible the bit where Jesus talks about the bells. I think you're mistaking Jesus for Quasimodo, maybe. When it comes to that, I'm far enough away; it's not so bad. But there's people right next to this thing, and they get a pass. If I were to throw a party and be half as loud, then there'd be police here telling me to show up in 5 minutes. I guarantee you, and it'd be the same people who defend the church that would rat on me. But yeah, my thoughts keep going back to his poor parishioners and their tinnitus. I just can't get past. Why would you do that? Why would you blast it so loud? And hasn't the man ever heard of soundproofing? I'm sat in a soundproof room right now. It's not even that expensive these days. Get a soundproofing in, and then you can turn it up almost as loud as you want. Yeah, he's an odd little man, isn't he? Really, he's a very strange fella. I think I wonder how he's the kind of person who will come on a tour of the UK and be surprised by the crowds outside and how they were talking about him. So maybe we should arrange that. A little bit of a culture shock. Dip him in some cold water. Throw some eggs at him. That kind of thing.
Helen, any other thoughts on our wonderful friend here, old Greg?
Oh yeah. Like, I understand that his church is in a tent, and he has thousands of followers. Like, I get it. It's. Do I like it? No, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But why does anyone in a 5-mile radius need to hear his music and him screaming about witches in his fucking congregation, man? Like, why? And then when all the county is asking is like, can you just, tone it down a little bit, because not everybody goes to your church. Some people just want to like sit in their living rooms and read a fucking book, and or sit on their front porch and not have the vibrations of your hate speech really being broadcasted across the county. And I have and I'm sure there are plenty of people that are in the county that are very religious and go to church and don't want to hear that. They just I just want to take a nap. Okay? Sunday, I'm taking an afternoon nap. And he is really just a terrible person. I am not afraid to say that. He is terrible. And I hope he's listening, because Mr. Locke, you're a terrible person. Terrible. You're a bigot, and you're homophobic, and you're terrible. Come at me, bro. Anyway, so that being said, tone it down. Be respectful for other people. If you are a man of God, and God, your Jesus, teaches you to be kind to your fellow human beings, just respect the fact that nobody wants to listen to you all the time. And you should, if people want to come from California and listen to you, great. Good for them. But not everybody needs to hear you. You'll still get followers, and it will be fine. So slowly to roll, man. Slowly to roll.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a very good point too that you pointed out, Helen, which is, I think there's a bit of a legal difference too when the things that you're saying are like, you're blasting through a loudspeaker like grass is green and the sky is blue. That I think has a little bit different of a legal stance than outright hate speech, which is what Greg Locke, regularly participates in, calling for the deaths of LGBTQ plus people and all other terrible, disgusting things. I mean, you listed a good handful of them. So I think, that definitely should be in the minds of the law enforcement and the individuals in the area. Again, what exactly can be done is hard to know at this moment. But I want to highlight what the church spokesman, Wayne Caparas, don't know how his name is said, but either way, our old buddy Wayne said, quote, "We certainly emphasize with them," speaking about the people who had complained, "but we just hope they'll participate. If they're close enough to hear us, then they're close enough to attend." I just honestly want to give, a full-throated, just get bent. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's ridiculous. What a jackass you would have to be like, yeah, we know it's probably, a bothering thing for them, but also if they just like came and worshiped our God, they wouldn't be so upset about it. So yeah, fuck that nonsense. I just think that's ridiculous.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah, right. I mean, come on. Richard, any other thoughts for us?
Again, let's get Meshuggah playing there. And then when people complain, you say, well, if you just came and joined a mosh pit, Grandma, it'll be absolutely fine. You don't worry about it. It's a ridiculous argument, that, isn't it? The idea that, oh, just come and join us, which of course is why they're doing it, because they think that people will hear the word of God and want to come to join the congregation when they hear all these awful things that the guy keeps saying. And I don't think it's going to work. It might do a bit, but I don't think it will, because most people are just getting annoyed because they just want to, mow their lawns and have a nice day out and that kind of thing, and they can't. They've got to go inside and lock their windows and shut everything so they can have a bit of peace, which is the usual way to win friends and influence people, as far as I'm aware, to just annoy them. Is this a unique thing? Are there a lot of churches in tents with 40K rig PA systems and bands out there? Or is he doing something special?
It's more common than I want it to be, but he also decided to take it a little bit extra far, in my opinion. So.
And a lot of these places that do this type of, they have a church. They have like a mega church. It's in a building, so there's no noise that's traveling to the greater populace. But Greg Locke is butthead, and he's just going to spew his, hatred vomit in the guise of religion, because he's in a tent, and he can't tone it down, especially because it's and like this just speaks of like narcissism like so much, because he feels that he's a very special boy, and he has very special words that he wants to say, and these very special words have to be heard by everybody. And and then if you tell him to, like, can you just, you're at a 10, bring it down to like a, a 6 maybe, he's like, you're taking my free speech away. How are people going to hear about the Lord if I can't shout it everywhere? Like, dude, like, no, it's fine. You can still have your, I mean, like, and I think what he's saying is terrible and it's disgusting. And he has been taken off Twitter and Facebook and YouTube for the things that he says, because those platforms are like, oh, he's promoting hate speech. Not cool. And he has his own website, and if he wants to post stuff on his website about how, I'm possessed by a demon because I'm queer, fine, go ahead. But you still don't get the right to make people miserable.
Yeah.
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 Just basic human decency, but apparently he can't manage that.
Yeah, apparently that is too difficult for him. But go ahead, Richard.
I think you should do it like Jesus did. Jesus never had a microphone or a PA. He stood at the top of the hill and he shouted, and suddenly getting this image of the first scene of Life of Brian in my
That's
head.
where my brain went. That's exactly where my brain went.
Speak up! That'd be better, I think. Take the tent away then. He doesn't need a tent. He could just stand on a mound shouting at the first 500 people if he's very good at enunciating. But yeah, ask him where in the Bible it mentions microphones. Go on. Find me that page.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was the 11th or 12th commandment, but I think it was in there. I think it was in there.